largest action in U.S. history to stop tar sands. This is the tar sands action, where thousands of people were arrested in front of the White House. Since then, we've trained thousands of people all over the country who have gone on to organize hundreds of events. This is a youth-led sit-in at the State Department. This is a delivery of over 2 million public comments. This is an action in Chicago in front of the Federal Building. This is two of over a dozen light brigades that took place in cities all across the country last year. And this is my favorite slide. This is a map of every action in the last 4 years that's taken place to stop Keystone XL. There's 750 actions in the last 4 years. That's one every other day. That's amazing. So, what does this mean in terms of how we actually leverage this power that we're building together to start winning? In the last year, folks, and a lot of the young people actually that organized this were from this region, organized the largest youth-led civil disobedience in the country. This is XL Dissent. I sat next to Casey Camp, an elder from the Ponca Nation, and Art Tandrup, a landowner in Nebraska, while they set up teepees on the National Mall. Over the last few years in building this fight to stop dirty energy infrastructure, we've brought together culture and art in a way that we've never done before. This on your left is a picture of a spirit camp that's set up along the proposed route in South Dakota. And on your right is Art Tandrup, the landowner from Nebraska. This is his farm with crop art. This was also the location that a few famous musicians did a concert earlier this year, last year, Neil Young and Willie Nelson. So we've gotten a lot of attention. And what we've seen from this is that when we get enough people mobilized, when we get enough people in the streets, we are actually seeing huge successes. In a town of less than 10,000 people, South Portland, Maine, they were able to block a tar sands pipeline that would come directly through their community to their port. This was being proposed by one of the largest oil companies in the world. This was ExxonMobil. And they were being outspent 10-1 to move forward with this pipeline, and they were able to organize to stop it. In the last year alone, we've stopped 3 mines from moving forward in Alberta. And to give you all a little bit of context, you know, the industrial project that is the tar sands is about the size of Florida. And some of the mines that are being permitted are the size of Washington, D.C. And we've been able to stop 3 of them in the last year because it's no longer economically viable, because they cannot get it through pipelines because we're stopping them all over the place. And I don't know if you all remember this, but Andy showed a slide of one of the mines where a truck that is the size of a 3-story building was like a little speck in that image. So we've been able to stop 3 of those just in the last year. And also last November, in a city council election in Richmond, California, which is home to one of the largest refineries in the country, we had 6 city council members running on an anti-Chevron platform that swept city council just by grassroots organizing. $3 million was spent to defeat them, to make sure that they did not get those seats, and we were able to out-organize them because of people like us in this room. So what does this mean for this region? You know, I think today we have a choice. Either tar sands move forward, taking our communities and our climate with it, or we do. We know that we need to take a stand to stop this dirty energy infrastructure, and we need to do it together. And so one of the ways that we're achieving that through this tour is by continuing to build relationships and resistance at each stop, excuse me. So the most important thing for you all to do coming out of this room is to get engaged in what's happening here in your community. Get engaged in what's happening locally. Because whatever we do, you know, building that community and building that local resistance is what amounts to that map that we saw earlier with over 750 actions. We're also asking folks to join us in the streets. Mark your calendars, June 6th in Minneapolis, St. Paul at the Capitol. We're going to be doing the largest march against tar sands that we've ever done in this region. We're calling it the Tar Sands Resistance March. This is going to be an opportunity for all of us across the Great Lakes region in the Midwest to come together to really stand up and make sure that our voices are being heard. One of the things that I've been saying at each stop along the way, through this tour, we're talking to thousands of people, and if each person that we talked to that came to one of these stops brought 5 people with them to this event, we would mobilize the largest march in the region to stop tar sands that we've ever seen. So definitely mark your calendars, June 6th, Tar Sands Resistance March. Another really big event that Michelle kind of spoke to earlier that I wanted to bring back up is the Remember Kalamazoo event. This year marks 5 years since the BP oil spill, the Kalamazoo oil spill, and the 10-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. These kind of moments, there are communities organizing and mobilizing around each one of these anniversaries. And so as a part of this larger national movement to really lift up the tragedies that we've seen our communities have over the last few years, we're asking folks to join us in Kalamazoo for a healing walk. We're going to be walking to the 3 most impacted communities from this spill in a weekend of healing and support, and also empowering one another and coming out of this so that we can actually come together through this support and build something that's bigger and stronger than the sum of all of our parts, so that we can come back and actually win. So this is a healing walk the weekend of July 24th through the 26th. And I know that we discussed this a little bit earlier, but the healing walk originated in the Alberta tar sands, was actually one of the organizers for that healing walk was Crystal, who we've heard from at the beginning. And they organized those for 5 years and basically extended an invitation to anyone in the world to come and walk through the tar sands with them and see the destruction that they're dealing with, as a way to begin a process for their community to start healing and the planet to start healing. And last year was their last healing walk. And at the end of it, they made a call out. And they said, we want impacted communities all over to start hosting their own healing walks. Because as a movement and as a larger community, healing is a really huge component of the work that we have to do in order to sustain, the planet that we're living on through combating climate change, and also sustaining the communities that we're living in now and the communities to come. And so there's a level of, this movement building that I think we don't give enough credit, which is coming together to really form that support and that love through healing. And Kalamazoo is a horrific example of what can happen to a community when they're threatened by infrastructure that carries the dirtiest fuel on the planet. So we're asking folks to join us July 24th through the 26th. We've got a bunch of cards out there on the table where you could sign in. It's got more information on that. And Michelle is also here, so if you do have any questions, please stick around. We're all going to be here a little bit afterwards if you want to talk more about how to get involved in those events.